Good morning. It's great to see all of you today, whether you're joining us here on site or online. I'm Jo Celine, OUUC Media Specialist. I use these/their pronouns. This service is being recorded and it is streaming live on Zoom and on YouTube. For those of you in the sanctuary or on site today, please turn the sound off on any devices you have or just turn those off altogether. Note that you can see the subtitles and view the chat during Sharing from the Heart on that screen in the front of the room. We ask today that you refrain from singing, but please feel free to hum along, and please keep your mask covering your nose and mouth at all times. These measures are for everyone's safety, and we thank you. For those of you online, I hope you will find a candle or a chalice, and in a moment we can light them together. Thank you all for your grace and adaptability as we all remember it's about connection, not perfection.
Good morning. Let's sing together, shall we? Hymn number 401 out of the gray hymnal, which I see that none of you have, but that's okay, don't worry. Because you know it, and those of you online, the lyrics are posted in the chat. Kumbaya. In its original incarnation, the song was Come By Here, My Lord, and not Kumbaya. And we're going to sing the Come By Here. It just felt like something that we could soulfully put our voices together with today. So let's do a little bit of Come By Here, My Lord. Come by here. Sure, I invite you to rise, because that's what we want to do. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Come by here, my Lord, come by here. Oh Lord, come by. Someone singing. Someone singing, Lord, come by here. Someone singing, Lord, come by here. Someone singing, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Someone's weeping. Someone's weeping, Lord, come by here. Someone's weeping, Lord, come by here. Someone's weeping, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Someone's praying. Someone's praying, Lord, come by here. Someone's praying, Lord, come by here. Someone's praying, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Come by here. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Come by here, my Lord. Come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Nice to sing with you.
Good morning. Welcome. Wow, it is, I am just overwhelmed to see this, a full congregation here in the sanctuary this morning. It's wonderful to see all of you. And welcome to this worship service at the Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation. we are pleased to join each of you in this celebration of love and to this congregation. The OUUC community comes together in the mutual promises and possibilities of our covenant. We envision an interconnected world that is loving, just, and healthy. We commit to live out our mission to welcome and wonder, embrace and empower, bridge and become. We're so glad that you are here. My name is Janet Spencer. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a member of the Worship Arts team. Leading worship with me today is Reverend Sarah Lewis, our Director of Community and Faith Development, and Troy Fisher, our Music Director. We are especially pleased to welcome guest musician Hiroya Tokumato. If you are new to OUUC, we'd love to hear from you. You can fill out a visitor card at the link in the chat, or if you are here in person, please introduce yourself to a greeter. We are grateful for the many hands that helped make worship happen this morning. Thank you to the ushers and greeters, the breakout room hosts, the tech team members, the youth staffing the nursery awaiting the return of your young ones, and all who contribute in so many ways. It is wonderful to be together, either in the sanctuary or on Zoom. After the service, everyone will have a chance to discuss reflection questions offered by Reverend Sarah. For those online, we invite you to go into a breakout room for a virtual reflection circle. This is a chance to gather with a small group, to greet each other and check in. Whether or not your breakout room has an assigned host, take personal responsibility to help everyone to share. For those in person, please feel free to join a group and bring the reflection questions into your discussions. They are printed in the order of service. We hope you'll join the discussion wherever you are. Melanie Ransom's talk show returns after the service today with a pre-recorded interview with George Lanning's children, Steve, Karen, Chris, and Susan. To watch her show, you could just stay on Zoom or return to the Zoom worship link. We will also play in the sanctuary for those in person. Now, I have a special announcement today. Today at 3 p.m., our guest musician, Hiroya Tokumato, will present a concert in the sanctuary. You can attend in person or join on Zoom. In the early days of the pandemic, Hiroya joined us online for a worship service and a virtual concert. Hiroya is a gifted composer, guitarist, singer, songwriter from Kyoto, Japan, and we are proud he's joining with us today. This coming Thursday, June 2nd, will be the final evening spiritual practice before we take a break for the summer. Join Reverend Mary and Troy for an exploration of the monthly spiritual theme of Bridge. It is Thursday at 7 p.m. online or in person. Last, everyone is invited to attend the OUUC 70th anniversary celebration and the installation of Reverend Mary this coming Saturday, June 4th at 2 p.m. at the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. You can RSVP on the link in the chat or the website, or check in with Darlene if you're here in the office. There are many opportunities to stay connected to our community. Please check the website regularly If you have any questions or need help, please check with a staff member. Now let us open our hearts and minds as we prepare for worship. Once again, welcome everybody. It's good to be together. This morning and every Sunday morning, we join Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world in lighting a chalice, the symbol of our tradition, of our faith tradition. Please join me as we light our chalices together with these words by Eric Walker Wickstrom. Here today, in this place and with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May the chalice we light our way.
Our opening words are offered by Amanda Schuber. In honor of the risk takers, those that hold the vision with clarity and charge forward with optimism, even in the face of others' doubts, you are our lamp lighters and our guides. May we never forget the courage it takes to lead the way forward. In honor of the cautious skeptics, those that gather the information needed to navigate the tumultuous waters of change, you are the map makers and the preparers of the stores. May we appreciate your attention to the details that keep us on course. In honor of the doubters, those that may fear the changing tides of a turbulent world, you are our anchors and remind us of where we have been and where we are as a community now. May we relish your commitment to our history and your passion for who we have become. In honor of the dreamers, those that imagine what we can be and in this world, you are the wind that blows the sails of change, pushing us ever forward. May we revel in your whimsy and hope that dares us to never stop becoming. May the work that we do together strengthen our community and our world. May we heed the call to always hold the vision of a free church ever in our sight and work toward justice. Together, we wield a powerful spirit that is strengthened by the gifts of all. Come, let us worship together.
And let's sing together again. Hymn number 1064 out of the Teal Hymn Book, Blue Boat Home. If you're joining us online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit, and let's sing together. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on the mountains and plains, far away of the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks for the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Thank you for singing.
So we're going to try something new today for the story. If you want to see the effect, you can see it if you're here in person by looking at the TV. But so our story today is about two chickens. So here's one of them, and here's the other. So on a farm by a river lived several chickens. The very youngest of them was named Hetty. And because she was the very youngest, all the other chickens pecked her. But Hetty didn't mind because she had a vague idea that she wouldn't always be the very youngest chicken. Now, the second youngest of the chickens was named Harriet. Harriet, because she was the second youngest, was pecked by all the chickens except for one. And Harriet did mind. Harriet would say to Hetty every day, "Over there is a wonderful land where everything is perfect. And someday we'll go there to live together. And even though you are young and silly, I'll take you with me." And Hetty would say, "Ooh, well, that's nice," and then sort of forget about it. But then one night, a terrible storm came to the farm. And the next day, when the chickens were let out, a strange sight was before them. A tree had fallen down and formed a bridge, a log, over the river. Now, most of the chickens just thought, "Ooh, nice new worms to eat." But Harriet said, "This is the path to a new life." Hetty mostly just agreed with the other chickens, but, well, she didn't say anything, and she just quietly followed Harriet when Harriet said it was time to go. And together they crossed the bridge to the other bank, where they spent a lovely morning. And then, over time, Harriet, looking around, started to notice, well, a few things about this new place that weren't quite perfect. And then, by the end of the day, she was noticing some big things that she didn't like. And then by that night, when they went to roost, she pecked Hetty for no good reason, just because she was grumpy. And the very next day, she got Hetty up and said, look over there. That place is perfect. We have to go." It took them a long time to get there, and when they did, Harriet saw this lovely snug hole in the ground and said, "Look, this really is a perfect place. There's even a nice snug hole for us to make a nest in. And together they went in the hole and they got really comfortable. It was a nice nest, except for one thing. That hole already belonged to a fox. They had to run for their lives. And Harriet led them on for a long, long, long time until she found another place that she thought was perfect. It was an old windmill. Why, look, we can make a roost up here in the top of the windmill, she said. And for a while it was perfect, and they nestled down. It was very snug. But as night fell, strange things began to appear, and they realized the windmill was already full of bats. Why, they had to run out onto the sails for safety, kind of like that, somewhere. And while they were out on the sails, Harriet spotted the lights of a city in the distance. Look at all of those beautiful lights, she said. Why, that's the perfect place for us. And so they went. But it turns out that the city isn't a perfect place for chickens. Why, there was hardly any place to scratch and nothing to eat. And after a while, they got scooped up by a policeman and taken to a strange place full of other lost and found things. And then, why, they were sold at auction. Harriet was very optimistic, though, on the short ride to their new home. Wherever they were going, it was going to be perfect. Hetty thought the new farm was really nice. But Harriet, almost right away, decided that there were things wrong here, didn't like it. And one day, as they were out scratching, Harriet said, ooh, look over there. Look at that egg factory. Why, it's so clean and modern and nice. Why, that's the perfect place for us. And so they went, and Harriet found a way to crawl under the fence, and they went into the factory and wandered around, and soon they were discovered and given their wish. Why, they were each grabbed and put into one of the cages. And for the first 10 minutes, Harriet loved her new room. And for the next 10 minutes after that, she started to see things wrong with it. And then 10 minutes after that, she started to really hate it. And it just got worse. Every day, a man would come around and look in each cage and then frown and take notes in front of the ones where there wasn't an egg. And unfortunately, in front of Hetty and Harriet's cages, he frowned a lot. And then one day, things began to happen, and all the non-laying hens got gathered up together and loaded into a truck. Well, Harriet said wherever they were going had to be better than here, but she was starting to get a little nervous. Even so, she said, I'm sure that where we are going is going to be perfect. Well, unfortunately, where they were going was a chicken slaughterhouse. And when Harriet realized that, she took action right away, and she pecked at the people who were carrying them. And then all the chickens were pecking, and they pecked, and they ran, and they escaped. Well, Harriet would have left all the other hens who had escaped with them, but Hetty unexpectedly got stubborn. Hetty looked at these other hens and turned to Harriet and said, You have to help them. They don't have a leader. They don't know what to do. They don't know. You have to help them. And Harriet looked at Hetty and looked at the other hens and realized that she did have to help them. And she realized something else. She realized that if things were going to change, she was going to have to change. And so Harriet gathered up all the hens, and they went off together. They didn't know where they were going, but Harriet told them wherever it was going to be perfect. And they got tired, and they got wet, and they got cold, and they got nervous, and they got frightened. But no matter what, they didn't peck each other because they had decided that that had to change. And then they finally came to a place where there was a log that had fallen across a river. And Harriet said, Look over there. That is the perfect place for us. And they all crossed together, and that is how they came back to live at the farm by the river. And Hetty finally knew that Harriet was right at last. Thus ends our story. We came together in community this morning, bringing all that is in our lives. In this space, we draw on the strength of our community to hold all that we bring here with us. In this space, we share from our hearts what brings us joy and sorrow, what brings us worry and delight, what makes us afraid, and what makes us dance. Let's open our hearts to the complexity of our life, our own and others. If you would like to send in something to share, please look for the link on the online worship page on the OUUC website, and we'll bring it into the service next week. You will hear a drum beat as we share today. It brings into our awareness that our individual hearts beat, and together we create the heartbeat of our community. And as we share, we place stones in the water, stones holding the complexity of our lives placed in the water of community. Right now, I invite you to take a breath together and open our hearts to receive the complexity of all that is in our lives and our community today. This weekend, we celebrate Memorial Day, a time for remembering all who have died in military service to this country. Over our history as a nation, so many have paid the ultimate price and sacrificed for what our government has asked or demanded of them, and we remember them today. We mourn with the people of Uvalde, Texas, after a mass shooting in the Robb Elementary School killed 2 teachers and 19 children this week. This comes only 1 week after another mass shooting in a grocery store in Buffalo. So many are left with heavy hearts that this is a reality in America. Together we grieve. May we find a way to end the violence. And then please join me in wishing a happy birthday to Janet Dawes. Janet turns 90 on Monday and says she is happy to still be here. Janet, we're happy that you're still here too, and we wish you a joyous birthday celebration. If you are online, I invite you to share from your heart by entering in the chat. This is the time to share all that you wish, joys and sorrows and whatever else is shared from your heart. And for those in person today, We invite you to come forward if there's something you would like to bring into this community. Please come forward through the center aisle and return to your seats by the side aisles. You may place a stone in the water as you hold your sharing in your heart. Let us hear the heartbeat of our community and reach out our hearts in love and care to all those who share today. We place a stone in the water for all that has been shared from the heart, a stone holding the complexity of our lives held in the water of community. And then we place one more stone in the water for all that we hold in our hearts that remains unspoken. I invite you now into a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation. As I rode my bike into work this week, I noticed a flower growing in a crack of the sidewalk. Not just any flower, it was a red poppy. I had to stop and sit with the flower, for it seemed to have something to say. Since World War I, 100 years ago, the red poppy has been a symbol of remembrance for those who die in wars. After Surgeon John McCrae's poem In Flanders Field, which inspired the symbol. After all the destruction and death, a field where battle had occurred was covered in red poppies. Here, today, what does this one stubborn poppy growing on the side of the road have to tell? Who are we meant to remember? The poppy was there for everyone. It seemed to say, remember it all. But, I said, there is so much destruction, pain, grief, fear, anger, and death in the world today. Is remembering ever enough? No, replied the poppy. It is not enough, but it is the first step. Remember. If we do not remember, how can we learn? How can we change? Ah, yes, I said back to the flower on the side of the road, but remembering hurts sometimes. I know, the flower replied. Sometimes it hurts. We grieve, we mourn, because we love. I took that message from the flower and I got back on my bike and rode on with this prayer in my heart. Great love that holds us all, help us to remember those we have lost. Help us hold their memories in both love and honor in our hearts. May the love that we feel for them inspire us to use our lives in the service of greater love. May we honor the past by cultivating a safer and more peaceful future. May it be so. Let us hold a moment of silence together.
Thank you. Our prayers and meditations deepen our gratitude for what we know as sacred in our lives and in this world. Each Sunday, we express our gratitude by joining together in service to our community and to something greater than ourselves. The offering collected here does several things. Half supports the ongoing work of OUUC, which is also supported by your regular pledges. The other half is shared with an organization that serves our community in harmony with our Unitarian Universalist values, and a small portion goes to the OUUC Ministers Benevolence Fund to help support those in immediate need. During March and April, our generosity gave $2,431 to the Olympia Mutual Aid Partners and $347 to the Ministers Fund, as well as $2,778 to OUUC. For the months of May and June, our Share the Plate recipient is Homes First. We have a video to share about their work.
Okay. Hello, Olympia Unitarian Universalist Congregation, OUUC. I'm Shannon Miklich, Development Director at Homes First. Thank you for having us as a recipient for Share the Plate for May and June. Homes First houses 277 extremely low-income people each year in safe, stable, and affordable homes, and the ongoing support structures each household needs to remain stably housed. With your funding, we'll achieve this through our Tenant Service Navigator and Housing Program, which removes barriers for those who struggle most with barriers to market rate housing, specifically low-income and homeless veterans, adults with developmental disabilities, people in recovery, families, and children. Our Tenant Navigator connects household members to services when needed, arranges appointments, and assists with paperwork when necessary. A good example of what that work might look like is when one of our older tenants fell and broke her hip last year and reached out to our Tenant Navigator. Diana worked right away with our maintenance staff to ensure she could continue to stay in her home as she was healing. We installed a ramp and bars where she needed them, even before she was released from the hospital. Our mission is carried out by our 14-member board of directors, 8 staff members, and hundreds of passionate volunteers. We are working to house even more of our neighbors this year and are renovating a home in Tumwater for another Oxford home for women in recovery and a shared home in Lacey for homeless high schoolers to complete their high school degree. OUUC support is a vital part of solutions within the community. Thank you so much for your part in this work.
You can participate in the offering by making a donation online through the church website or by texting the number that will appear on your screen in just a moment. You can also mail a check to OUUC or place your offering in one of the baskets. Our community partners continue to need our financial support. May the offering now be generously given as it is gratefully received. Thank you for your generous gifts. Today's reading is from John O'Donohue in To Bless the Space Between Us. The beauty of nature insists on taking its time. Everything is prepared, nothing is rushed. The rhythm of emergence is a gradual, slow beat, always inching its way forward. Change remains faithful to itself until the new unfolds in the full confidence of the true arrival. Because nothing is abrupt, the beginning of spring nearly always catches us unawares. It is there before we see it, and then we can look nowhere without seeing it. Change arrives in nature when time has ripened. There are no jagged transitions or crude discontinuities. This accounts for the sureness with which one season succeeds another. It is as though they are moving forward in a rhythm set from within a continuum. To change is one of the great dreams of every heart. To change the limitations, the sameness, the banality, or the pain. So often we look back on patterns of behavior, the kind of decisions we make repeatedly and that have failed to serve us well, and we aim for a new and more successful path or way of living. But change is difficult for us. So often we opt to continue the old pattern rather than risking the danger of difference. We are often also surprised by change that seems to arrive out of nowhere. We find ourselves crossing some new threshold we had never anticipated. Like spring, secretly at work within the heart of winter, below the surface of our lives, huge changes are in fermentation. We never suspect a thing. Then, when the grip of some long-enduring winter mentality begins to loosen, we find ourselves vulnerable to a flourish of possibility, and we are suddenly negotiating the challenge of a threshold. This ends our reading.
I took my love, I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you. if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide will bring it down. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide will bring it down. Oh, the landslide will bring it down.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Haraya. My sermon today was inspired by the song Landslide by Stevie Nicks. It was just stuck in my head as I reflected on my recent journey to ordination and what I wanted to share with all of you about that. Nicks wrote the song while staying in Aspen and facing a crisis of whether she would become a success or not, whether she could risk it all for her dream. And it's also widely believed that the song is about her relationship with her father and with her partner, Lindsey Buckingham. Those lyrics, though, speaking about being afraid of changing because you've built your life around something else or someone else, well, they can really get to me. I've felt that way at times, afraid that if I changed, the stability of my life and my relationships would be endangered. But then, as Nicks says, time makes you bolder, and even children get older, and we all have no choice but to get older too. In another part of the song, she asks the questions, can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? I don't know about you all, but those are questions that I've also asked as I have continued the process of growing up, changing, and becoming. How can we navigate those inevitable changes? How can we not be afraid of changing? Because change is a truth that we cannot escape. Change may be the only constant that we can rely upon. I think about what novelist Octavia Butler wrote in her novel, The Parable of the Sower, in which the protagonist creates a new faith based around change. Quote, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. End quote. So how have I changed? Well, I first began attending OUC in 2001 when I was 22 years old. I had been a Unitarian Universalist since I was 15 and had attended 2 other congregations. I was a college student. I was coming to Olympia to move in with my boyfriend, who is now my husband of almost 20 years, and I didn't have any kids yet. I sporadically attended worship and sometimes showed up for young adult things. And during those years, I got married, I lost a pregnancy, I had children, I did graduate school, I solo parented while my husband Noel was deployed to Iraq for the war, I ran a home daycare, and I started volunteering in the RE classrooms because my son didn't want me to leave him there, and so I figured I might as well teach if I had to stay in the room. I then became your director of religious education in 2008, after a very long search process that felt like a 6-month-long job interview. And my relationship with this community changed profoundly as I made the shift from congregant to staff. In many ways, the warning to members who become staff for a congregation is that they need to be prepared to lose their church. It's simply a different relationship. It's not bad. It's not a complete absence of support or belonging or loving and right relationship. It's just different. And while that was an obvious threshold, there was still plenty of change to come during the last 13 plus years that I have served here as religious educator. I was just turning 30 years old when I began this work, and really, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. On my first day that I got here, I found a lovely bouquet of flowers on my desk from Melanie Ransom, who had been on the search committee that selected me, with a note about digging in. But as I looked at the little DRE office, which was in the kitchen closet back then, I had no clue where to begin digging in. Our minister at that time, Reverend Arthur Vaney, was a supportive supervisor, but he frankly told me that he didn't really know what I should be doing either. He would just know when I was doing it wrong. And that's how we went on for some time, with me just doing what I thought I should be doing and somebody telling me when it was wrong. I did also find support from religious educator colleagues in the local cluster of the Liberal Religious Educators Association, LREDA for short, many of whom took the time to answer my questions and mentor me. And consequently, it will always be a priority for me to pass that on and support and mentor new religious educators as they enter the work. Now, sometimes folks will ask me how I became a skilled storyteller, and I will marvel that you've all forgotten and given grace for my early attempts at it. I would have weekly meetings with Arthur in the first few years, and at one of them he said, oh, that story was better on Sunday, but then I was sitting there and I found myself thinking, what is the point of this? And that's not good, Sarah. You have to have a point, Sarah. And I've taken that to heart, and I always try to have a point to what I'm doing. But really, it's years of practicing, and not some innate gift that makes it work. I also dove into the official professional development offered through both LREDA and the Unitarian Universalist Association. I entered the credentialing program, which was a 3-year course of study, and I was awarded the master level credential as a religious educator in 2014. It was an amazing experience with a huge amount of growth and learning for me. And this congregation really deserves a lot of credit for supporting that professional development. I was encouraged, given study leave time and sabbatical to finish that process. And when I returned, you all enthusiastically celebrated and expanded my job description to include lifespan religious education. I also want to give you props for taking fair compensation seriously as well. As I increased my qualifications and skills, this congregation followed suit by moving salary to the new recommended level on the new scale. And that's something that many in the larger UU world warned me would never happen. Because the conventional wisdom is that if you want to advance and be recognized, you will have to move and change to a new congregation. But here, you all valued growth, and you took it seriously. So 3 years ago, when Reverend Mary came to us as our new settled minister and my new supervisor, I shared with her that I was thinking about going to seminary to become an interfaith chaplain. I had felt called to ministry for many years, but I also knew that my type of ministry was pretty close to what I was already doing, and that I didn't want to move or leave Olympia. So it kind of seemed like there was no point. But darn it, I do love to keep learning and growing, and that call just wouldn't go away. And I discovered the Chaplaincy Institute and realized that it would be a good fit for that growth and deepening. And Reverend Mary and this whole congregation, again, were supportive of my ministerial formation work. Again, support, study leave, and sabbatical leave helped me complete the course of study, and I became ordained in April of this year. It was a joyous threshold for me, and it surprised me in a way. I had kind of been thinking it would be like a birthday. Sure, you wake up one day and technically you're older, but it's not a sudden change. But no, the ritual of ordination really did matter to me. I took vows, I made promises, and I felt myself changed by doing that. It's been a lot of changing, and here I am, still here with all of you. Here is where I have built my life, as the Stevie Nicks song puts it. And still, I'm not afraid of changing. And it has been a joy to me that it doesn't feel like you all have been afraid of changing either. Our relationship has changed over time, many times, but it still remains. I feel truly blessed to be in a place that allows for growth and change. And I am not the only one who has been changing. It's perhaps most obvious when we look at our kids. When I began as religious educator here, I had a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old that I was parenting, and my kids came to work with me a lot and effectively grew up here. And Anissa, who is now our very fabulous religious education assistant on staff, was in the high school group back then. Our current high schoolers were in the nursery when I began. I've been here long enough to have kids that I taught for preschool graduate and bridge and become adults. And in just a few years, the first baby that I helped dedicate will also be an adult. That transition of growing up involves many renegotiations of relationship. As I am now parenting a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, my relationship with them is shifting. It's becoming more adult to adult. We remain in relationship, but the relationship changes as they and I change. But while it might be easier to notice the changes in our children and young people, as Stevie Nicks also pointed out, we're growing older too. All of you adults in the congregation are all growing and changing. And this community as a whole is growing and changing. New people arrive, others leave. Beloved traditions fade, new and exciting things happen. And we all, each in our own way, are learning and changing and being transformed in some way by the process of being alive, being together. The only constant is change. That's what it is to be in a living tradition, and that is what it is to be in a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships leave room for growth and change, while also giving acceptance for what is. In our Unitarian Universalist practice, this is where the third of our 7 principles comes in. It's a principle that doesn't get as much attention sometimes as some of the others, but really it's my favorite principle. And it says, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. It's a balance, a dynamic both and, to accept someone as they are right now, to hold them in love and grace as they are today in this moment, and also encourage them to spiritual growth. Now, sometimes the hard part might be the acceptance right now. Like, maybe a person is in some way irritating, or maybe they're even harmful, and we just love for them to grow out of that. How can we accept the person who is flawed? Now, to be clear, I am not saying that we have to accept harmful behavior or not hold people accountable for their actions. But let's use the example of a 2-year-old. We hold a 2-year-old with love and grace, even as we firmly let them know that biting and hitting other people is not okay. Now, hopefully all of us adults in the room have grown past the biting and hitting when you're frustrated stage. But I bet that we still have things that we do when we're frustrated that we also could use to grow out of. Now, the other side of the principle that can be challenging is possibly less obvious. What about when the growth means that something that you enjoy or even cherish is lost? Now, when my kids were little, they would hold my hand as we walked down the road, down the street, and I loved that. And then one day, my son pulled his hand away and said he was done holding hands. And that was a sad day for me, but it was part of his growth. We can't keep others stuck in stages that don't allow for their growth, no matter how much we may love them like that. People will change and no longer fulfill certain roles or needs for others. The caretaker will someday need care. The jokester may become sad and quiet. Any number of changes will occur, and we may feel a sense of loss in the process. Change and growth are not without difficulties. We may fear to change, and we may fear that others will change. Or we may, like the hen Harriet in our story today, seek external change when what we really need to do is work on our own internal changes. Some changes will be improvements, and some will not. So how do we as a community hold each other in the kind of loving and healthy relationship that makes room for change and encourages growth? Now, author, facilitator, and activist Adrienne Marie Brown puts it this way in her book, Holding Change. How do we attend to generating the ease necessary to help us move through the inevitable struggles of life and change? How do we practice the art of holding others without losing ourselves? This is about attending to coordination, to conflict, to being humans in authentic and functional relationship with each other. Not as a constant ongoing state, but rather a magnificent, mysterious, ever-evolving dynamic in which we must involve ourselves, shape ourselves, and each other. Now, my experience here of OUC has been that one of a magnificent, mysterious, and ever-evolving dynamic. I've been held in ways that have allowed me to grow and change, and I hope that I have held you all in those same ways. Our relationships here are based in covenant, in mutual promises and commitments that we make to one another. And today, I make this promise to myself, to my calling, to the world, and to you all, that I will hold the both ands of acceptance and growth, stability and change, the past, the present, and the future. Enough, and what more? Grace and acceptance, and come on now. I commit to being in relationship in ways that hold others without losing myself. I commit to growth and to navigating change with all the grace that I can. We're all sailing along, navigating the changing seasons of our lives. Change is inevitable. May this community be a container that holds us, loves us, supports us, accepts us, and encourages us all to spiritual growth. May you each find room to grow and be held in relationship. We will have to renegotiate these relationships over time, maybe many times. But may we always cultivate love and grace as we do. Thank you all for these wonderful years of growth that we have shared together, and I look forward to many more. I now invite you all into a moment of loving and growth-encouraging silence as we integrate this into our hearts. May we be in silence together. So much love to you all, and blessed be.
Let's one more time sing a verse of Blue Boat Home, 1064. We'll just sing the third verse only. I give thanks to the waves upholding me. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit. If you're online, you can find the lyrics posted in the chat. Third verse, here we go. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great wind urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
As we come to a close today, please remember that online reflection groups will gather next, and then Melanie's talk show is at 11:30, and Haroya's concert today is at 3 p.m. in person and on Zoom. If you have a chalice or a candle, please join me as we extinguish, and we're going to extinguish our pilot light here since it's self-extinguished, with these words by Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together, becoming our better selves. May we move in peace.
Let's join together in singing our unison benediction. We are part of the web of life. We are part of the web of love. May our words, may our deeds pull the strands of the infinite web toward health, toward justice, toward love.